Hello, I'm Kate Creasy with Kate's Paper Creations, and I want to welcome you to my weekly current catalog video and blog where I share projects made using products from the current catalogs of Stampin' Up! Today I am featuring the Quite Curvy stamp set and the Curvy dies, which come in a bundle, a Quite Curvy bundle. They're available for a while yet, and so I wanted to show you some things that I made with them. The card I'm actually going to show you first is this one, and let me show you how I made that card. Get my stuff here. I started with just a standard 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 for the base card, and this is from Whisper White Thick. Then the next piece I cut, first layer, is, let me use this, Blushing Bride, no, excuse me, is this, Rococo Rose, and it is 4 by 5 1/4, and it creates the first layer on this card. And when you attach it, it will leave that 1/8 inch border all the way around. Let me get some adhesive, and we can go ahead and attach that. Just like that. And we're going to set that aside for a moment. The next pieces that I attached is this decorative piece here, and let me show you the trick on how I made that. I started with 2 pieces. One is Whisper White Regular, and it is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and this is Blushing Bride, and it is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So they are the same size. I'm going to get a piece of scratch paper here because we're going to do some stamping. I'm going to do that, and I am going to stamp the white piece with the dry brush background stamp, and I am inking it with Crumb Cake. And I believe I stamped this off when I made the first one, and so that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see if I like what it looks like. But I think I stamped it off because it's pretty dark the first time, and let's see how it looks stamped off. If we don't like it, there's another side to this piece and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, that's a nice soft look. I don't think that's bad, but I think I like the first one better. So we're going to turn it over. I was mistaken. That happens sometimes. I design these cards and then I come back to make the videos and I can't remember everything I did. I try to make notes, but you know, it's just the way it goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it full strength. And it's pretty easy to just press it down, make sure that the middle gets much better. Okay, so that's what I did first, is I stamped that with the Crumb Cake. Then I took these 2 pieces and I took some removable adhesive and I put some on the back of this to just kind of hold it in place, and I just put one on top of the other like that, and you'll see why in a minute. Then I'm using this die from the Curvy dies, and I want an edge, as you can see here, and so I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to use some washi tape to hold it in place. A couple of pieces, I think. And I don't need it real close to the edge. You want a little bit of an edge. And it's not an exact science. It just will change the width of the center, which is fine. It'll still come out very nicely. And so I'm just going to do that and that. And I'm going to run it through my Stamp and Cut emboss machine over here that's off camera. It's just kind of big and bulky to bring into the picture, so we'll just do it on the off camera, and then I'll bring it back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this piece is the piece we're going to keep. So we'll gently lift up that washi tape and lift up this die. There we go, that gets that out of there. And then while it's still attached, we're just going to turn this around and we're going to do the other side the same way. I saw this technique or this look on another video by, I think it's called the Stamping Ninja, and I liked the look, and so I didn't go watch her stuff or anything, but I just thought, well, I'm going to see if I can imitate that. And so I'm imitating hers with a few changes to make it my own. And let's get that one. And gently peel back that washi tape again. Like that. Get that off of there. Okay. And so it leaves these three pieces. Now I need to poke out these things and clean them up, but this is what they're going to look like when I'm done. And because you've got the two layers, I can peel layer one away. That clears up the one right there. And this clears up this one like that. And then I've got my centerpiece. Now these are what I'm going to use for the card now, but don't get rid of these because we're going to use them to make a second card, and I want you to see what we're going to do with that. So we'll set those aside for now, okay? But this is what we're going to use to make that our first card. Okay, so let me set that aside for just a second. Clean off my surface here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to fit these pieces. Now this piece was cut so that its finished look will be only a 1/16 of an inch border all around. So it's going to be a very narrow border. I wonder if you've got good lighting. Let me see if that helps any. A very narrow border all the way around. So you can put your first piece down and do that with it and get that first edge. So that's what I'm going to do. Make sure I sit it down with just that 1/16 of an inch border, top and bottom and down the long side, just like that. Then the next piece I'm going to attach is that center piece, and we're just going to match up the curve, just like this. And again, you should have 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. So you just kind of want to watch for that as you place it. So that's what I'm watching for, is to make sure I maintain that border, and I am. Looks good to me. Okay, and then attaching the last piece, just like that. And I layered them so that like that, so that I could be sure that the curves would all match and everything, because it just comes apart and everything's exactly where I need it to be. I didn't have to try and figure out where I had placed the die or anything. It just, and it cut through both layers beautifully, just absolutely beautifully. So there's my basic card. Then I took the image from the stamp set, this little flower image here, and I stamped it 3 times. I used a piece of Whisper White regular. I stamped it 3 times onto a 3 by 3, yes, 3 by 3 piece of Whisper White. And I'm going to color it. I colored 2 of them already, so you don't have to watch me color all of them. I colored the leaves with Old Olive Light, and I used, sometimes I have the hardest time opening these things, I used the fine tip end so that I could have a little more control. And I just colored all of the greenery with that. And these were stamped and then die cut out with a die from the Curvy dies. Didn't have to fussy cut. And so yeah, just using the fine tip end of my blends pen to color in the leaves. Just like that. Oh, there's a stem I missed. Let's get all of them. There we go. Okay, that's the Old Olive. Then I used Cherry Cobbler Light to color these little fronds here. And I don't know what kind of plant these are, but I wanted some color in here, so I colored them with this Cherry Cobbler, the light Cherry Cobbler blends. And again, I used the fine tip end. So, to color them in. Okay, that's that. And then the flowers, I used Rococo Rose, light and dark. And I started with the light, and I just colored all of them in with the light first. And I'm using the brush end here now. Just flows so smoothly. I love coloring with alcohol inks. They just flow. It's just so nice. And one more flower. Oh, and there's some leaf I missed. How do I manage that? Let's get that Old Olive back out here, and let's fix that last little leaf there. I don't know how I manage that. Okay, now I'm going to keep my light color open, and I'm opening up the dark Rococo Rose because I want to add some shading. These flowers look a little bit flat, just colored with one color. And so I'm going to take my darker color, and I'm going to put some on, and then before it has a chance to totally dry, I'm going to come back with the light and spread it out a little bit. And you'll see the difference it makes when it finishes drying. It just adds some shading to the flowers, and I'm just not even trying to be careful. I'm just adding a little bit to the bottom part close to the leaves, and then drawing it back out to the rest of the flower. And it works really well doing it that way. And it just helps pull that color out a little bit so that there's not an abrupt edge. It blends that shading into the rest of the flower. Just work it a little bit, and there we have it. So this is the light. Get my tips mixed up. And there's the flowers. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but the shading looks really nice on those now. So those are the flowers that I'm going to use. Then I also used another die from the Quite Curvy dies to cut out 2 leafy fronds out of Old Olive. I also stamped the 2 little birds from the Quite Curvy stamp set that will face each other on the card like that. And we're going to color those with, let's see, I'm going to start with light Calypso Coral, and I'm going to color their little tummies with that, just the tummy part. kind of up to their neckline there. And then I'm going to color the rest of their head area with blush and blend it down into, so it's a little bit of a color difference there and gives it some depth. And then for the body part, I used light and dark crumb cake. And for the light, I used the brush end, and for the dark, I used the fine tip end. And I colored the whole thing with light again, with the light color, just like that. And I came back with this, and I did the top of his head and a little bit around the wing, and then I came back and blended that in. So that's how I did that. Oh, this is the light one. I colored it all with light first. Then I did a little bit here and a little bit over the top of his head, and then came back and blended it in just a little bit. Okay, so there's my little birdies ready to go. So we're almost ready to start building. Next thing I did is I used the Hello stamp, also from the Quite Curvy stamp set, and I am going to stamp it with the Rococo Rose this time for the color. It's a little bit stronger color than the Blushing Bride, so it shows up a little bit better. So I'm going to use that, and I'll tell you where I got the sentiment pieces from in just a second. But there's that cute little hello. And this and the matte piece came from Ornate Frames dies. All kinds of wonderful frames. And I used this one and this one. And they just layer perfectly with each other. And I'm going to attach this just flat to the mat that I cut for it. And it's just going to go on here like this. I just centered it on there. Looks pretty. Okay, now I take and I just put a bunch of adhesive on the back of this, and I started attaching my flower stems. And there's not any right or wrong way to do this. Literally, you can do it any way you choose. And I just keep adding sticky until that things will stick, so I can kind of build it the way I want it. I think I want this stem over here, and then I will add another flower in there, and another flower. I don't want it to look too symmetrical. I want it to look a little bit off. There we go. So I'm going to do it like that. And then I used dimensionals to attach this to the front of the card. Find my dimensionals. And these stems are, it's interesting. I put one on each corner of the there we go, of the sentiment tag, and then I put 1 and 2, and the big ones fit. You could use minis if you wanted to, but the big ones actually fit just fine and can't be seen from the front, and that's what's important. And I wanted the stems and everything to be supported well, so they got lots of support. Two more. One here, and one out here on the end. Okay, and then we are going to attach that to the front of the card, just like this. Now you can put it anywhere you want. I have decided to put mine right about like that. and just press it into place. It's looking lovely. Okay, and then the birds, I attached them flat, and I just attached them to the corners here. So I'm just putting enough adhesive just on their bottom of their bodies and their feet to hold them in place. And I'm going to put a birdie there. And I'm going to put a birdie kind of down here, like that. And there's the card. Then I wanted to add some bling, so I took my regular 4mm rhinestones, clear rhinestones. I colored them with the dark Rococo Rose blender pen, which dries permanent on non-porous surfaces. And I colored some of them, and we will put some of them on here just to give it a little bit of bling. Put some even up in here. Maybe one over here. And of course, again, that's totally up to you. So there is the first card I made. Then, like I said, I saved these pieces. And I cleaned them up, punched out all the things, and created basically the same card, but just a few changes. So let me tell you, I didn't get my birdies on this one yet. So this is the second card where I used the reverse pieces from the first card. So the sides became the brown, the crumb cake background pieces. And then this centerpiece was too plain. I didn't like it just flat. So I embossed it with this wrapped in texture, and it's kind of a little dotted background look in one of the dies, or one of the folders, excuse me. And this is what they look like. And so that's what I used to emboss this background piece. I attached them exactly the same, started with the left side and then the center and then that. And the sentiment piece is exactly the same. And then I added some bling as well. So I was able to utilize all of that cardstock that I made, those cards from, those cut pieces from. And this is going to be a kit that I offer this month, since I'm not hosting workshops in my home in December. I have offered this as a kit to my customers, and if they order the kit from me, it is $6, and if I have to mail it, it's plus postage. And I will send out all of the pieces to make the card, except everything except adhesive. All the stamping, all the everything will be done except coloring and adhesives. And then it'll be up to them to build it, and then the video will be here for them to be able to follow the instructions. If you want to participate in that with me, just email me by Monday, the 20th. Let's see, it's going to go up on the 7th of December is when I'm putting up the video. And so I want to send the kits in time for you to be able to use them by that date. So just notify me with enough time to make the kits and get them in the mail to you. And for my customers that are local, you'll be able to just pick them up in the pickup box like we usually do. So thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed today's videos and the little tricks that I used, and that they inspire you to make something exciting too.